So welcome to a continuation of the conversation around member engagement and chapter health. And we're going to focus on engaging members from participants to volunteers, or from participating to volunteering. I'm a big component of us really looking at the whole engagement continuum, because that's the secret to us being able to get more people to do a lift to get us going. So I'm going to start with a question, because as you can already tell, I usually start with a question. And my question to you is, how engaged are your members? And by that, let me ask you, do you think, I'm going to give you the categories, and then we'll take a easy poll. So do you think that 10% of your members are engaged with the chapter? Do you think that 25% of your members are engaged with the chapter? Would you say 50% of your members are engaged with the chapter? Would you say 75? So 10, 25, 50, 75. Oh, that question always comes up, and I'm not going to give you an answer just yet. Great question, and we do have an answer. So, show of hands, how many would you say 75% of your members are engaged in your viewpoint? Okay. 30%? Okay, how many say 50? Okay, cool. How many people say 25? So you can raise your hand because you're over 25, right? Yeah. How many people say 10%? Okay, and if you didn't raise your hand, it's because the question was too complex, or you just... It's 5%. Okay, so how do you know it's 5%?
Because I know how many members we have and how many people show up to events, and
Okay.
that's...
So you're counting. Okay, cool. So 30% you said? No, what did you say in the back?
50.
Okay, 50. And how do you define engagement?
Well, I mean, I'm very new, so I probably have no idea, but I define engagement as they go to at least some events in the year, and we have an event every month, so, plus we have other events, so if someone comes to one or two in the year, I would consider that engagement.
So just to paraphrase really quickly, they have a lot of events. She's pretty sure most people come at least to one or two, and therefore about 50% of the members are coming into an event in the course of a year. Generally, when I'm asking this question, I do mean for you to think broadly in the course of a year, right? And I'm going to challenge you on the definition of engagement. But first, I'm going to mention to you, successful organizations have about 2/3 members that are engaged in their organizations. 2/3 meaning 1/3, I see them all the time, or they're engaged pretty heavily. We know their name, we recognize it when it comes up. 1/3 is, hey, we've seen them, we'll see them again, so they're connected. And the last third, I would like to say, are the ones that are waiting to be connected, but they haven't yet done anything. Now, the problem with me telling you that is that if we stay with the definition of engagement being that I got out of my point of practice, got in a car, drove to one of your events, and showed up, it's going to be hard to get that. If we begin to take a look at engagement from a broader perspective, that's quite achievable. The reason why you want to shoot for this is because when this occurs, you have a vibrant volunteer pool. You have a vibrant volunteer pool. Right now, in most organizations, we recognize that about 10% of the members are going to hold a volunteer seat. Not all at the same time, but within a cohort of people that are volunteering. So the problem with that is that in many of our organizations, that 10% is being asked to do an awful lot of work, right? So not only do we have to think about engagement more broadly to get this, but we have to think about engagement more broadly to boost that 10%. So it's all part of the same conversation. Problem is, what I hear a lot of chapters doing is segregating those two conversations. I'd like us today to think about it as around a continuum and begin to see where the lines blur. And in doing that, begin to find how we can take our members from writing a check to being counted. And when they're counted, it means because they're also lifting, carrying some of the water, right? Now, before you say, Peggy, this is absolutely impossible, we did do a study in which we went out with, oops, I keep forgetting, they told me don't go that close. I'm going to stay over here. We did a study and we went out to 50 associations and surveyed not the staff, but the members. What we found was that 58% indicated they want to be more engaged. And those 58% were ones that called themselves basically unengaged. Okay? So 58% of those unengaged folks basically said, yeah. Now we're saying, well, we've given you lots of ways. What's the problem? Again, guys, it's the definition. We've limited when we expand, these people are waiting to be brought into our family. Here's the issue at hand. We are structured very traditionally. Our members and our volunteers are not the same. Now, even on your boards, because most of your boards have a really nice, or at least appear from the context of what I can see here, a nice balance of different generations and people in different places of their careers, right? So you might say to yourselves, well, it's working. Yeah, but you see, when we did this research, we also found out that more than 60% of the individuals willing to raise their hands don't want to raise their hands for the seats that you're offering them. They don't want jail terms. They want to do something meaningful and mighty, but they don't necessarily want to be in leadership. But about 17% do. And you're part of that 17%. But if we judge our organizations based on the view that we have, we miss everyone else. Yes, Susan?
So when you say the certain percentage want to be engaged or they're waiting to be engaged, are they necessarily wanting to be engaged on a leadership level, or do they want to be engaged in your group in some way? Like, we have a listserv, and there's some people who are just post on the listserv all the time, but they never really do anything else, but they're happy there. They're not disengaged, but they're not leaders, and I mean, so I guess I'm asking, I don't know actually what I'm asking, how do you find that cadre of people who are looking for leadership positions, but where people are engaged, but they're happy in their engagement roles. They're not looking to engage any further, any deeper in the organization.
So I think what she's asking is probably something that many of us have to deal with, right? Is you've got people that are saying, I want to do this and I want to do that, but I don't want to be on the board, or I don't want to be in the leadership role. So how do we solve this? How do we respect and encourage and engage those that don't want to get involved, but make sure we get enough that want to get involved? It's about us rethinking what it means to be engaged, but very importantly, what it means to volunteer for our organization. I do a presentation which I call Ban the V word. The V word being volunteer. People don't want to volunteer, but they raise their hand over and over again to do stuff that's meaningful. As soon as you say, hey, we're looking for volunteers, you're going like, I'm glad. And did you ask Joe? But if I said to you, hey, we're putting together a study group to help a group of folks that are getting ready to sit for their last part of their license. We just need a couple of mentors in this group. We're going to meet by Zoom 4 times over the next month. I'm in. But I'm not going to volunteer for a mentoring committee where we have meetings that are boring. It's how we have to ask the question. So let's look very quickly at why people say yes to associations, and then how do we tease that into those volunteers. The first one is why. We talked a little bit about this, right? We talked about the fact that it's community, it's relationships. What we didn't talk about very much was it's also really critically about access, right? It's about the ability to access things I need at the moment that I need them, and not in a situation where I have to buy everything, right? In fact, it's more about this idea very similar to the sharing economy. It's like, let me have a piece of what I need, and then when I'm done, let me give it back out again. So how many of you recognize some of these icons? Go ahead. Go. Sure. What else? Lyft. Poshmark. If you don't know Poshmark and you like fashion, I'm just suggesting. Anyone else? So what I think is really cool about here is you did recognize Airbnb. Love Home Swap is kind of a twist on that. Turo is kind of a twist on Lyft and Uber, right? What you're seeing, this is how real the sharing economy is. When you see something come up like an Uber, we go, this is not real. And when Uber gets competition, and then when Uber and its competition have someone else come on and do it differently, it's real. So it really is about access versus ownership. And that's super true for membership organizations. And why do I say that? Because, well, actually, let me give you a story. So my I called him 25 in the other room, but I think he's 26. You know, I thought about this after I said it. I know. No, the 23-year-old. I know his age. We're good like that. So interestingly enough, he was getting ready to graduate a couple of years ago, and he's in music. He did music management, and so he's actually went to work for Sony for a while. Now he's got his own label that he's building, and it's all very exciting. But I said to him, I gave him the name of an association, and I said, join before you graduate because it's cheaper, right? So he goes up, he's going to do everything his mom says, everything. So he went right up again, and then he sends me this text and said, okay, he might have said, this is way too expensive. And I'm like, way too expensive? I said, okay, I'll pay for it. I'm like, what's going on? And he goes, you're going to pay that much. We're having this whole text conversation. And I went, what? And I went up to the website to check. And come on, guys, it's $75. Like, how is that really big? Oh, no, he says to me, it's $75 a month. Oh. Why? Because Netflix is by the month. Wow. Everything I get right now, Mom, HBO, by the month. Wow. By the month. So he just assumed this was the monthly fee. Now, maybe he isn't real bright, but don't tell him I said that. The point is, there's a whole generation coming into our organizations, our workplaces, as well as our chapters, who are very used to this idea of buy as I go. They're very used to this idea of I buy when I need the access. They're very used to the fact, and it's perfectly legit. My son that moved here did not bring his car. Why? He's got access to Zipcar. So when people look at your association, and I'm not saying, okay, you have to go on a month-to-month. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that that's the expectation, which means that if you want to keep someone involved and engaged, you've got to give them a reason each and every month. You've got to help them see little by little what they're getting from your organization. You have to over and over again say, hey, we give you access to great minds, access to ideas, access to fun, right? That's what this is all about. So we have to kind of embed that. And when you embed that, then people say, as do all of these people, the Turos that have given their cars in, right? They say, I'm a player, I want to be part of that. And then you bring them through the engagement continuum. So I'm going to suggest that the first place we have to start is in beginning to really say to ourselves, how do we amplify relationships? How do we build those connections in different ways? So take a few minutes. I know you're in, you're in lines, but gather in rounds and 4s or 6s or whatever you can do. And just take about 3 minutes and say, okay, how can we amplify relationships? Thinking about the sharing economy, thinking about this access, not thinking about an event. Do not go to an event, okay? How do we amplify relationships? Yeah, or between two people. 3, 2, 1. I didn't say this was going to be easy. I'm pretty sure I said that, right? 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, so let's come back together again. So how easy was that question? It's hard? You guys said it was very easy. So in the back row, tell us, how are you going to amplify relationships?
Go back to basics and be intentional with time.
Nice. Okay, there you go. We're done. There is a door. We can go out the door. And one more example. Any other examples? Yes.
I don't know if we did it the right way, but what we were thinking is that we can form a group within, like, a group. For example, with our website, we can put, like, a link to an Instagram, and then on that link is, like, everything, like groups of people that do, like, things like hiking, pictures of, the whoever found themselves hiking, and put it up there, and then you can put likes or, suggestions of where to go hiking, if you were in the hiking group, like that.
So I love that. So it's finding the shared passions or interests and creating smaller groups within our larger group. And the idea around hiking, like how many of us want to go hiking? And how many times can you have something you're working with, and maybe a set of clients or a kind of client, or you're in a practice and you've got this question and you go out hiking with peers and the answer comes, right? So it's facilitating that, and that's creating these incredible, meaningful relationships. Awesome. Yes?
Yeah, our group has a monthly hike, and I've been more involved in the monthly hike than monthly meetings. And that's how I got on the board.
See? Awesome. So there's an example of it's not just an example of a group that's done this, having that monthly hike, but it's an example that proves my point, which is find the passion, get them together, create the relationship, and then pull them in. And that's what we're trying to do. In a nutshell, it's put together the group of hikers and allow them to figure out a little bit more about how the association goes, and then bring them into the process. It's recognizing that if I'm part of the hikers, I'm probably part of a group that's having conversation, that's solving problems, creating content that then is shareable. They're volunteering. Just don't use that word. Just don't use that word. So that's the why. The what is the experience. So we've sort of talked about that, right? But what I want to do is go a little bit deeper about this defining moment. We mentioned memorable and meaningful. That's cool. A memorable and meaningful activity has 4 elements, one of 4 elements. It elevates, so it takes the mundane to another level. It takes that going from a pre-licensee to a licensee and makes it an experience, right? Secondly, is it gives me some kind of an insight that's unusual or different. It takes my learning kind of up to another level. So what's really cool is at my national conference last year, they did an offsite, and the offsite took us to the National Strength and Conditioning Association. Yes, I know, stay with me. It's just about association management, and you're going, what? You're going for a workout? Maybe. We went to this room, and we went to their big training facility, which is an amazing facility, right? And this is in Colorado Springs. So we go there, and I didn't know what to expect. They did say wear comfortable clothes. Well, half of the learning was a 30-minute guided meditation. And what they were trying to get us to understand is that if we're going to be present to our members and our volunteers, we have to be present to ourselves. I've heard that dozens of times. But then they showed me. Now, I meditate every morning. I do not meditate for 30 minutes. My brain, my brain's fine, thank you. It's the thinking that gets in the way, right? But I meditate 15 minutes in the morning, and on a good day, 15 minutes in the afternoon. I think we do a dance, because I'm also a dancer. We do a dance, and it's I will be gentle with myself. I will love myself. I am a child of the universe, being born every moment. So when I don't get to that 15-minute meditation at the end of the day, I go, well, I've got another moment to be born. Insight, it brought to life. Pride, okay? I showed you those clips, the people that were on the Instagram because they had the star around them. Pride. I would bet, who were some of our winners today for the Volunteer of the Year? Of the leader winners? No one in this room? You're all winners. All of your hands should have gone up. But that was a moment of pride, yes? And some of the winners were surprised. How cool is that, right? And the fourth thing is a connection. Taking two people, making a connection that would not have already happened. So when you're thinking about how do I create the experience, it's thinking about how do I make one of those things happen. To me, this is an example. Now this is the String Teachers Association Michigan chapter. This was on the conference evaluation. I pulled this off, okay? Because I saw this and I thought, I have to find out what they did to create such an incredible opportunity that this person found that 19-hour drive crammed in a 15-passenger bus with 12 people and no trunk space. These are string music teachers, okay? You understand what I'm saying? And it was worth it. It was worth it. That's the experience we want to create for our folks. So let me ask this question and give you 3 minutes to talk about it. How do you create experiences? Not how do you create a whole event, but how do you create experiences? And you're looking to create experiences that either elevate a moment, that give valuable insight, give pride, or make connections. How can you, here, I'll leave that up for a little maybe innovative thinking there. How do you create experiences? 3, 2, 1, go.
We're fortunate, we have one of our members, her son has a really large property adjoining our backyard. We can always, in our case, we have an excellent park system where we can access the parks.
45 minutes.
Member-wise, I think it's members and their families.
I love that. The license. I didn't know your license now. We're doing that.
All right, let me bring you back together again. Give me a couple of examples of how you are going to create experiences, something different. Anybody? Right here.
Maybe inquire with our members if they have common interests that they'd like to, like have a, what do I call it? Like a meetup, like different meetups, like therapists who love to cook, or therapists who love to hike, or whatever, and see if they can sign up to do activities according to their interest.
Absolutely. Exactly. So it's facilitating people being able to declare, I'm interested in this. And allowing people to do that in a meetup, like everybody who's interested, let's get together. Like we're not going to go do it. We're going to kind of pull ourselves together and figure out what it is. So the beautiful thing is meetup.com gives you a place to do that. How many of you are already on meetup.com? Yeah. So you can do that. And you can actually, you can start any meetup you want, and you can put a logo, and there's also a way to theme all of them under one umbrella. So it's not difficult to do this stuff, but we have to say, back to my thing this morning, what are you going to stop to get that started? And one of the things that we did at the PRSA Maryland chapter when we were trying to move into a coffee with is we gave ourselves permission to not do a monthly workshop every month. So basically we said, okay guys, we're going to do a workshop each quarter. We'll have something every month, but in between those, we're going to do a combination of either a social or a meetup, and we called it a coffee with. So the point is, we have the same number of events, only guess what, guys? I have more people coming. And I have more people coming because I changed things up and I gave people different opportunities. The coffee with is an 8 a.m. Most of our workshops are late, mid-morning, maybe over lunch. Our socials are all at night. Why? Some people can come in the morning, some people can come middle of the day, some people can come. When somebody says to me, oftentimes chapters will say, okay, how many people you have, all your events are evening? And raise them, well, evening events are better. No, they're not better. They're actually not better. They're equal, right? And so it's okay for us to sort of dish things up a little bit, right? So.
Can you give the daily rundown that you gave earlier? The mornings of coffee.
Oh, yeah. So in our organization, it worked very well to have a coffee with, which is our meetup, in the morning. Our workshops, which are all related specifically to the profession, usually is either going to be late morning, so it'll be like 10 to 12, or it'll straddle lunch. And then our social, our happy hours, which usually is a place where we're introducing people. Like a new restaurant opened up. We went to a winery one time. Those are evening. So when someone says to me, well, I can't come to morning events. Oh, that's okay. How about I tell you about the events that aren't in the morning? So it works pretty well. All right.
I just want to
Yeah.
comment real quick.
No, please.
And the table I was with, but I just would like to throw it
Yeah.
out. We suggested in one of our board meetings to do a wine tasting.
Oh,
But there was like a whole conversation of like, no, because that promotes wine, that promotes alcohol, then what if we all drink too much and they can't drive? And like, well.
okay.
What I was thinking is like,
So,
coffee is caffeine.
so here's what, speaking right to her point. So the question is, we're going to get in this dialogue about promoting drinking. Okay. So we're going to offer in the first quarter a wine tasting. The second quarter, we're going to have a coffee tasting. Have you ever been to a coffee tasting? I'm not a coffee drinker, but I went and it was fab. Wasn't it fab? It was fab. I mean, it was. So you balance. Every time someone says, yes, but, you say, yes, and we're going to do the coffee with, and a coffee tasting and the wine tasting. Oh, an olive oil tasting, yes. Do you see? Do you see? There are so many tastings we can do to balance. Chocolate tasting, now you're speaking. Oh, you know, it is fabulous. And you know what? The problem is when you go to a chocolate taste, you'll never have Hershey's again. You are dead to it. I'm just telling you.
The funny thing is we did it at our holiday with couples, and one married couple picked the dime store Easter Bunny as the best chocolate. We were happy they were married to each other.
Yes. So you were doing some therapy. Yes, you're a good couple. Don't leave. But the reality is, when you get a no, but we can't do that. There are so many other options, and to go ahead and allow yourselves to explore it. We have such you guys live and breathe diversity. Then you get into a board meeting, and everybody's afraid to say that. And if I can empower you with anything, it's to say to the folks that are questioning, is to say, yeah, what's the worst that could happen? Now, on the thing, what we did with the wine tasting, we actually did, you got there however you went. We told you not to bring a car unless you had a designated driver, and we did shared Ubers home. Yeah, so it was great. And so the networking continued to the home. So there's lots of ways. How? 84% prefer face-to-face communications. This comes from Gen Z. That blew your mind, didn't it? That's right. All of us prefer face-to-face. Why? I can see your eyes, I can see your mouth, I can see everything that is expressed here. I can see how you go like this, I can see how you go like this. All of those expressions are available to me. Now, what I need you to understand is a slight kind of like shifting of this. You see, 84% face-to-face communications, however, video is face-to-face if I can see and hear you. So what I'm saying to you guys is distance, even when it's 30 miles, so I'm in Maryland, and I know many people think of Maryland, particularly if you're from California, as a small state. But from where I live to the corner up in the west, it's going to be about 3 hours. Down to the Chesapeake, it's going to be about 3 hours. Okay? So we got this whole little thing going on here. Okay? So my point is, there's two organizations that I manage, which are Maryland organizations. Okay? We've adopted technology just out of survival. And it works. Now, in case I always like to be able to, I have lots of opinions, but occasionally they're backed up. So here you go, digital natives. How do you prefer to learn about nonprofits? Oh my, yes. If I can't find, and by the way, okay, apologize in advance. Some of your websites are not the ones they're going to have somebody come back to. Can I just say that out loud? Okay. If 65% are judging you by going online to see you, you ain't looking real sweet. Okay? 55 on social media. I didn't see a whole lot of really vibrant social media from you guys either. And I understand you're therapists, and I understand there's limits. And I'm not saying you should go out and do everything. I'm just saying it's a channel that people are using. Find the way that's going to allow you to be right. 47% e-letters, 18% print. I believe that's going to change. So just stay tuned on that one. 17% face-to-face. The reality, it's going to go bigger. Okay, so this is going to get bigger. It's going to get bigger because it's going to be more exclusive. Like, I don't want my first introduction, don't waste me because it's not good green, right? Don't waste saying to me. But there are important times when I want you to mail to me because it's going to get through my clutter. Okay.
Are you talking about how people prefer to learn about our agents, our
Yes, yes. This is not about your profession, this is about your organization. And it's a validation. So if I'm going to join, now in your case, you guys, people could find Camped, which their, their newsletter, their website is looking much better than when I remember back in 2014. And then they're going to hopefully find you. Now here's, okay, take this please with the honesty and the desire from me to really help you guys. If I come to Camped and I go to some of your websites, I'm going to say I don't need to pay the extra. It's not that you're in competition, but they're going to look for where they can find the information. Now, am I telling you to go run out and get new websites? No. We're talking about a few little things you can do. I mean, you don't have to do everything, guys, but you have to understand that if not this year, next year, right? Oh, wait a minute, maybe this year. Because the other thing we need to understand is everything's about now. It is now, not an hour from now. I'm not going to wait for the Uber more than 6 minutes. I have canceled at 6 minutes. I'm like, dude, really?
You don't live where I live.
Oh.
I've had them cancel me.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. We have to talk. We're going to take care of you. So here's the problem. Everything I'm talking to you about, I know you want to get volunteers. So let me talk to you a little bit about how we're going to change that definition. Traditionally, it's events. It is also activity participant, advocacy day, right? You've got a community outreach program, and it's volunteering. Yes, that's my board. Our strategy session, we put on glasses so that we could see things differently. Community building, my coffee withs, social media engagement, and content. What I want you guys to think about, some of you have this, I want you to think about these three. I want you to broaden this definition of engagement and count not just the people that show up, but count the people that are connecting with you and the people that you're connecting with. I want you to think about content as an incredible way to connect with busy people. And I want you to think about social media engagement. Every time somebody likes something or adds a comment to it, they're actually creating content for you, right? And I want you to think about community building, the small ways that we can connect people. They will come to your event once they see you're a safe place, right? So how do we translate this? The engagement continuum. Now, the engagement continuum simply says this. It says there are stages, levels, ways of getting involved, and they're all equal. Right to your point about how do I get people. When your conversation from the get-go is everything is equal, all of you are important, you can keep people on the continuum sliding back and forth as their time allows them. You notice this is not a ladder. It is not like getting to the governing your board is the most important thing. Yes, boards are important, don't get me wrong. But if a board doesn't have somebody to lead, right? Notice how there's arrows at each end. I always tell the story of a president who was a president-elect. She called me up one day and she said, Peggy, there's going to be a little bit of a problem. I said, oh, I never like to hear that. And she says, well, my company, I can't disclose this publicly, but my company is going to be doing a merger. And we're going to be a complete rebranding. And we have been told all volunteering is off the deck for the next year. I'm thinking, it's not a bad deal. It's just my president-elect. So, we took a deep breath. We said, okay, we totally understand. And I said, now, you are pausing. You're not quitting, right? She goes, well, I don't know what that means. I said, when you're ready, can I bring you back to the board? And she said, you would do that? I said, you better believe it. You are a valuable volunteer. And I don't want half of you. Your employer said, go do this. You got to go do that. It actually took 2 years. She came back, 1 year on the board, president-elect, president. She is now past president. In those 4 years, our reserves grew 10.5%. Guys, a continuum says, I know things are going to get in the way. So this is what this looks like. Consuming is viewing, reading, and attending. So I'm going to count people that show up. I'm going to count people that are on our subscriber list. I'm going to count people that like, count people that share. I'm going to count people that are connecting with my content. Promoting. This is an active opportunity to get our folks to like, share. Okay, good. Like, share, and otherwise recommend. And I'm going to have them be able to do that not only in the context of social media, but also, I mean, if you've got a really cool logo and you put it on your website, encourage them to put it on their website. If you have it in your subject line, tell them to put it in the subject line. Tell them to be, their clients, the folks that they're dealing with need to know that they are not only licensed, but they are part of an incredible group of peers who really care about this. That's a recommendation, guys, right? Creating is contributing, commenting, responding to surveys. Yes, responding to a survey should be acknowledged, and thank you for talking, and I love your comments. And by the way, we're putting together an article. Can I use those quotes? Is there any other quote you'd like to give me? Can I send it to you and have you edit it? Oh, now you're part of my writing pool. Woo-hoo, amen. If we looked at this a little bit more, you guys are familiar with this. Board, committee chair, maybe a task force. I want you to begin to embrace the ad hoc, the micro, and I want you to say right in here whether I'm directly assisting or indirectly assisting in sharing what you guys are doing. I am a volunteer. I'm an engaged member. I am a contributor. Now, in order for this to work, it means you have to acknowledge them, which is why I love this example from the diabetes educators. This is from one of their chapters. They took that kind of concept and they put it for themselves. Check out the words. You're a supporter. You're a champion. You're a subject matter expert. You're a thought leader. You're a strategic leader. Yes, very strong. Thing at the bottom. Volunteering opens lots of doors. Gain new skills. Find leadership opportunities. Build your resume. Forge friendships. Or simply give back to the profession. Our members make a difference to people living with diabetes. Not to the organization. To the reason why I'm a diabetes educator. Let me blow it up a little bit for you here. Short tasks. Now they have a discussion group, so join the Skates discussions, read, post, reply. Get an atta-girl, atta-boy. Update your community profile, attend an event, respond to a survey, do a testimonial, send a letter. All of these are small things, but when you do this, I put you in a community called the volunteer pool, and you get updates and acknowledgments. That's right. So in other words, I get in a exclusive community. So I get the dates for the next event before anybody else does. Before it gets released to members, it gets released to the small cadre of folks. Short projects, a little bit longer. Be part of our social media pool. PRSA has, we've done this. We have a vibrant social media conversation going on, and it's because I got somebody who likes Twitter, somebody who likes LinkedIn, somebody who likes Facebook, and somebody who writes on our blog. One person doesn't do it. And not only that, but guess what? They get to do it without being on a committee. We just send them an email. Hey, here's some cool things. Get them out when you can. Submit a blog post, join for state legislative day, host an event, attend a community outreach event. Take and post event pictures. Like, I see your camera. I think you could take pictures. See, there you go. You see what I'm saying?
It'll be up on social media.
Woo! Hashtag we are cool. At Peggy Hoffman. All right, anyway. The point is making it, these are real simple. They take a very little bit of time. Subject matter expert is demonstrate your expertise by creating, reviewing, or presenting quality and relevant information, not sitting on a committee. Check that out. It's not sitting on a committee. It's doing those things. It's speaking. It's facilitating. It's moderating a session. For PRSA, we can never get a conference committee together. because people don't want to be on a conference committee. Well, first of all, what's really odd is our elections are in January. And then our events in September. And we don't really, the outgoing chair sort of gets things in motions. And then this committee doesn't have to do anything for a couple of months. And by then they've forgotten they were on the committee. It's just terrible. And I can't start them earlier because then they get really worn out. So forget all of that. We have a design team, which is our content squad. They identify content and speakers. We have a logistics team. They really gear up right before the event. And we have a marketing team, and they're doing the promotion. Does it take extra hands? Yes. We do have a champion or a raving fan. We actually call them the conference chair. We do that because the conference chair is a good LinkedIn job to have, right? To put it on your CV. But the point is, we've got many more people involved because we've broken this down. And we've said, hey, you're a subject matter expert because you've done a lot of research on what's happening in the communications field. Will you be on the content team? We're going to meet over about 60 days. Depends upon how quickly the agenda comes together. All of a sudden, that's very much doable. So what's really cool is consistently the chairs have always come from this ad hoc easy lift. So let's talk about 4 ways to approach this in your own organization.
Your Twitter's funny.
Thank you. All right, map the membership. So, the first step is creating a membership profile. This is a truly warm and welcoming step. Now, you can do it start with the new members or the members you haven't seen in about 6 months, right? And then move on from there. So what do I mean by that? I'm talking about letting them know that there are ways to get involved. Not using the volunteer word, but get involved. The old adage is you get out of something that you put into applies to your PRSA membership. To increase the value of your membership, get connected today. And these are small things. This is a handout we give out in which we talk about what's in it for you. When you do stuff, like if you help us judge awards, you get APR credits. Okay, so we let people know that. Yes?
Is there handouts? Did I miss them for all this that you're showing?
No, it's secret. I can't. She asked about handouts. No, it's secret. No, just kidding. There is a handout in the back, but all of this is not on it, but you're getting the whole slide deck.
Okay.
Yeah, you're getting the whole slide deck. Yes. How? Well, I'm going to send it digitally, so I don't know.
No, I mean, do we need to?
No, it's going to be pushed out to you. It's going to be pushed out to you. Yes. No, I love that. I just couldn't tease you. I'm sorry.
No.
Now, what you need to know is, you see this Powered by SurveyMonkey here? So, and you can go on the PRSA page, and you can actually click through, and you can see the survey if you want. What it does is it goes to a survey, and you fill it out, and it talks about what are your skills, what are your interests, how involved do you want to be. And then we plug you. We have you do this, and someone calls you. Now, we're in the place of getting our team that we've just assembled, the new team we've just assembled, to actually go out and do the outreach ahead of time. Don't wait for somebody to click through. But I love this because when people click through and they tell us, now I can go to them with an ask that's meaningful, right? So let me give you a couple of examples. This is from the Alpha Epsilon 5, and it is they call it a volunteer interest survey. Get rid of volunteer, okay? Just do yourself a favor. It's a member interest survey, right? But anyway, they get all the standard information. What I don't like about this, do you hear that kind of thing going on here? But they said, indicate your level of interest in volunteering any of these activities. What I loved about this is I don't like when you say, here's a list of committees, which one do you want to be on? I'm like, I want to help, but I don't want to be on a committee. What do I check? Right? Very interested, may be interested, not interested. Marketing PR, I'm really interested in that. Finance and investment, I'm not interested. Alumni programming, I may be interested. See how this opens up a conversation? Okay, you said you may be interested. Can I talk to you a little bit about it? Can I ask you what may be interesting? Someone says, well, I don't want to be on a committee. Oh, Do you have some content you'd like to see us offer? Oh, do you have a speaker? Oh, can you host it? Oh, cool. Can you just be on just that event team? Excellent. So it's safe. It allows me to say, I'm not all in, but I could be. Let me give you another example. This is a national organization. Their page said get involved. It goes to, and I'm showing you this because this one goes to a Google Doc. Super easy way to make this happen. Just do a Google Doc, right? They collect a little bit of information. What skills and expertise can you bring to a volunteer position? Asking, what can you bring? Not, this is what we need, will you do it? No. Like what? What are you interested in bringing? And they have a great mixture here. There is communications, editing, writing, there is operations management, and there's also, for them, aquatics, biosafety, transgenics, anesthesia, I can't say that, anesthesia, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And thank you. And the point is, you could be interested and have skill in a topic or a discipline, right? And I want to find out which it is. I don't want to put you in a category of having to tell me you like to write when really you're just really interested in aquatics. And if I have the right ask, you'll say yes. What is your passion? Is that not a powerful question to ask a member? You know, we're all about family and marriage therapy. What's your passion about that? Is it working with kids in foster care? Is it working with adults? Is it working with teens? Is it working with community outreach? What is your passion? Because I'm going to plug you in to what your passion is. And then they get some information about the degrees. What I love about this one, and again, I take the word volunteer off. I'd make this member, okay? They didn't ask my advice, but the rest of it is so perfect, right? What I like about all of these things is it gives you a framework for having a conversation. The most effective way of doing this is having a team of people. You can call them ambassadors. One chapter calls them the Key Club because we have the keys to helping you get your value out of the chapter. And what they do is they make phone calls, then they send a follow-up link if they can't get somebody, they fill it out, and they put them on a path to being involved and engaged. Take time, absolutely. But here's the deal. Stop doing something so you can start doing something that opens up to the next volunteers. Let's talk about a couple of things we can do to plug people in. Once they have told you what they're interested in, once they have said to you, this is the kind of thing I'm interested in, I don't want you to go back to them and say, have I got a committee for you? I want you to give them 3 answers. I want you to give them an activity they can do that's related to that. The activity could be come to an event, attend a webinar, maybe we have a community service project, maybe there is some volunteering. So this is where you can begin to just sort of say it. I want you to give them a resource. Something on the website, maybe it's your online community, maybe it's a document, maybe it's a blog, could be a newsletter, could be a feed on social. And I want you to give them a person. Now, you're going to say to me, Peggy, why are we giving them all this stuff? You don't know whether this person is a one-on-one person, whether they can get out, whether they prefer to digest in their own time and space. So if you give them an activity, a person, and a resource, I guarantee you that one of those will connect with them. If you only give them one of those and it's not the right one, you've missed an opportunity. Easiest way to make this happen is go back to here, brainstorm with your board and say, what are the common things that we get, right? The other way of doing this is to ask somebody, what's their pain point? What are the common pain points we hear? You could do either of these. Brainstorm with your board on who is somebody I could send them to, what's an activity, and what's a resource. Just do a quick brainstorming. So at your next board meeting, instead of reading the financial report out loud, say, hey guys, if we encounter a prospect that says X, what's an activity, an event, and a person we can give them? Most important, and this is the part we all miss, is the check-in a few months later. Hey, did you get to that activity? Or maybe you know they didn't. Hey, you didn't get to that activity. You know another one's coming up? The check-in is critical. How we doing on time, guys? How are you doing? You know, there's a little bit of fade in the room, but not bad. Well, I told them to put it up, get it colder, because I was afraid you guys would fall asleep. I did tell them already, and they said they were on it. I don't have any idea what that means. They're on it.
It's just really cold right here. I did ask him to adjust it back down because it was too cold.
Yes, we did. Good. So several people have asked him. So that means any minute now.
So we're just kind of slightly hibernating. It's not that we're engaged.
That's okay. When I saw what the weather was going to be, I'm like, I'm coming to California. I'm expecting I could have just put on shorts. I'm like, that's exactly. My son did send me a text to make sure I knew I was going to San Francisco. So I landed in LA and it was 86. Okay, get outside the box. We've talked about a bunch of these. I want to show you a couple of extra pictures. I just want you to stop thinking in terms of events. I know CE is important. I understand. I totally understand that. But you have to create community, and community is not just CEs, particularly when I could probably get CEs other places, right? For free. And possibly for free. And online. So not saying don't. Please don't go back and say, well, Becky said I don't have to offer CEs anymore. Yoo-hoo! I didn't say that. What I'm saying is weave in the Coffee With series, young pro events, community service, mentoring. And the one that I think we don't count, is matching people. Like, you're interested in X, and this person is too. Why don't the two of you have coffee? Be a matchmaker, right? I mean, that is an activity, an event. And the radio program. So, and I'll show you that in just a moment here. So here's a couple of examples. That's a Coffee With. Coffee Withs are limited to 8 to 10 people. Someone hosts it. They're in charge of everything. They're in charge of the coffee. If they want to put out food, that's fine. They're in charge of leading or facilitating a conversation. It could be all kinds of things. It's a Coffee With. It starts at 8. It ends at 9:15. That's it. It's not hard to do. You get activity points and our book when you do that. Been wildly successful. We used to allow non-members to come, and then we made non-members pay. It was free to members. And now it's always full. So now it's just members only again. Not bad, right? I love this. This was a family event at a raceway. That's right. They said, and you know what they had before this started? This was for a chapter in tooling and machinery. They had a safety workshop. The family joined in afterwards, and they did race day with the kids. So they took social family, connected it with learning. You could come for one or both. And they had some people just show up for the family part. At one of our events, we got a Clean World. They do Soaps Save Lives, and they set up a table, and they put all of the ingredients for this bag. And as you're waiting in line for registration, you can just go over there and fill a bag. And then you write a personal note, right? And then you drop the bag in the box. At the end of the meeting, they pick it up and they take it. So we were assembly workers for a wonderful nonprofit organization. And what I heard from our members was just how it was like, wow, just something cool, just something neat, just a little different. The string board I showed you. I love this one. This was an event that a chapter had. This is called the Human Library. They got some of their senior people who were willing to be checked out for 15 or 30-minute study sessions. So all you did was you said, I am just like, I do not understand X. And they said, okay, we have Sue. She's next available at. Now they figured initially they just put it for, I think it was an hour and a half, and they did 15 minutes. They sold out all the time so quickly. The next time they did it to 2, and now they're up to 3 hours. Just very simple, and it's usually done in the context of before, during, and or after some other event that they're doing. The human library.
Are these, what profession?
This profession is in science. It's a science. Yeah, I'm trying to think which science an organization is. Hang on a second. It's one of the science. Nary Milwaukee, which is the home remodeling, not just home, but largely does on the NPR station, does a radio home improvement show. Now you would say, yeah, well, all the guests are members. You have to be a member to be a guest. And they really built their viewership up. So think about that as a benefit to members. They were trying to get people to understand a new rule, a new law in St. Louis, and this was the events people. So they wanted people to think outside the box on this new kind of stumbling block in the events. So they took you in and you created stained glass ornaments. And while you did this, they had conversations about what it takes to change, to look at things differently. And finally, this is your hiking group. Yeah. Yes. Somebody asked a question? That's their hiking group right there, right?
Yeah, I think that's me on the right, the bumper pack.
Yeah, yeah. So you guys are doing it. You just need to do more of it. I'm going to, because we're coming close to time, this is going to be in the deck. I just want to quickly show you something. This is the general contractors. They wanted to make sure people knew that this was beyond volunteering, that being engaged was connecting. This is big. It's hard for you to see. Over here, this nice little statement, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? 7, 7 elements. They went to their membership survey. They found out people joined largely for these 7 reasons. They had a brainstorming, and they said if somebody wants to recognize and promote with all the different ways they can do it, they color-coded it and allowed people to begin to see that if that's what I'm interested in, look at all the different ways.
That's great.
This is the give back, AKA volunteer, right? You can contribute to the foundation. You can offer expertise on a task force. You're not on the task force. You're a subject matter expert for a task force, right? Look, I mean, you can also be, where is it? You can also be on the task force, right here, right? But you could also just be part of the discussions. You could serve on an actual committee. You could help with a community service project. You could teach or serve a class. You could participate in tennis and golf. They created this map and sent out to members, and they said, what's driving you? Let's get you deeper in the organization. Guys, all of these examples are simply intended for you to begin to say, instead of me looking for volunteers, let me deepen member engagement in ways that support the work of the organization. Because you can't tell me that all of those options right there are not supporting the work of that organization. And that's what we need to do. Engage through content. This is a president of a dental hygienist organization in Ohio. And this is the video clip. It was her holiday greeting to her members. What I love about this is you might notice that she's got a very young child next to her. She gets on and she says, "This is my daughter. Like you, I'm very busy." And she goes on to say how much she's enjoyed they were there. And she said, "There's a place for family in our chapter." Is that a powerful statement? We have a Rising Star award, and we used to, back in the day, make it be a surprise, like your volunteer leaders were. And we said, duh. We now ask the group, the organization that nominated the winner, to call together a staff meeting and announce it at a staff meeting. This particular group not only did this, but they did the video and they put it out. Talk about letting something live even bigger and bolder. This was actually, they got a group of women who were doing a women in construction workshop in Michigan, I think it was. Let's call it Michigan. You don't know any better. Right? Yeah. At the end of the class, they asked them to do their quick takeaways and shared it. Registration for the next year, sold out. You saw that one? Now, do you see the difference? These are profile pictures for the DC Dental Hygienist Association and the Western Chapter International Society of... You notice how it's not a logo? You realize Facebook is about people, right? If you don't have time or effort to change your website, that's okay. Make your Facebook page, make your Instagram about the people. Over here, the DC, that's their board. Is that cool? That's their board. And I love the Western chapter. They always put something in there that represents an event that's coming up. All right. Bowling. Home improvement show. NARI Milwaukee has Friday feature. It's an opportunity for us to spotlight a particular member. And I love this one. Shout out to Southwest Riverside County chapter of the California Association. Do you know what this is? You go to their website and there is a whole bunch of pictures on a slider. And I see all of the people in that chapter. Some of it's social, some of it's at a learning meeting. And I'm like, man, there are people in this chapter. There's not a picture of where we are. There's actually people in this chapter. Maybe there's one change that you can make today. Put people on your website. So truly, guys, the connection point of creating more people at your board, of getting people to lean into your organization, is to begin to think about how you can recast the message of the work of the organization. It's not about a heavy lift. It's not about a long tenure. It's not about a jail term. It's about a community that is taking a mission, pushing it forward, one small task at a time. All right? All right, get out of here. Oh, I'm sorry. One last thing. I should have mentioned this. We didn't get to it, but on the back of your handout is this form. It is a cheat sheet to creating more micro-volunteering positions. It's a cheat sheet. I know I can speak. There's even a bit.ly so that you can go onto a website if you can't can't come up with enough options, all right? Ping me if you have any questions about it. Get out of here now.